Welcome to VisionCorps Speaker Series. Today's topic is Living Life with AMD, Tips and Tricks from an OT. Our speaker is Taylor Newswanger, Occupational Therapist.
Welcome to our latest speaker series. We really appreciate you all joining us today for the presentation. We're very excited today to have Taylor Newswanger, our low vision occupational therapist, present with us today. So Taylor has served as VisionCorps occupational therapist for the past 8 years. She enjoys the challenge of working with the vision loss community to come up with creative adaptations that will give clients more independence in their daily lives. Taylor will be talking today about how macular degeneration affects people and their daily tasks. And by the end of the webinar, you'll have an understanding of what occupational therapy does to help folks with vision loss or blindness due to macular degeneration regain independence and increase quality of life with the simple tips, tricks, adaptations, and devices that she's going to share today. Now, occupational therapy is just one portion of the rehabilitation services that VisionCorps provides to, again, help folks to regain lost independence and quality of life due to conditions such as macular degeneration. So if you're not yet a client with us at VisionCorps, or you are a client but are interested in some additional rehabilitation services to, again, bring back up your independence and quality of life to the level that you would like, please do reach out to us at VisionCorps. We're very excited to work with you or work with you again. So again, welcome to VisionCorps Speaker Series, Living Life with Macular Degeneration, Tips and Tricks from an OT. And Taylor, take it away.
All right, thank you. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So, like Linda said, I am the occupational therapist. Some of you might have worked with me before, some of you might be coming to work with me soon, and some of you might want to reach out and start working with me. So, I hope that whether you have received services or, depending where you're at in your, vision loss process here, some people, you might be at the very beginning stages. Some of this is just good information to keep in mind as your vision progresses. Some people might be fully in the thick of having vision loss. Some of these things you might already be doing. So wherever you're at, I hope you can take something away from this. And just understanding that everybody is at different stages of accepting this vision loss as well. So maybe you're wanting to be able to apply these, but you have to remember to let yourself go through those stages of grief as you're losing vision and adapting through all of those changes. It does take a lot of time. You have to let yourself feel those things and get out on the other side of acceptance. That way you are ready to do these things, and we're happy to help you through that whole process. So I'm going to be going through a lot of the things that I might share as a tip or trick just to make life a little bit easier for my clients. And at the end, we'll have time for questions. If there's something that you want me to expand on, write it down, keep it in mind for later so that I can do that for you. But for now, I'm just going to kind of go through, and then we'll catch up afterwards if there's something that you want to ask or add. All right. So what I do as an occupational therapist, we talk about what you do on a daily basis. It's called an activity of daily living, okay? Anything that you do from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, if you're having difficulty with it because of your vision loss, that's what we work on in occupational therapy. You would see myself, my OT assistant, Stacy. We are the crew here to help you out. And these are some of the things that we might look at in a kitchen with somebody. So I have folks who maybe they've never cooked before, but they've had a change in living status, and they're now needing to do the cooking on their own, but they're not really sure how to use the appliances. They're afraid that they're hitting the wrong button on the appliance. You can physically cook, you know how to do it, but am I hitting bake or am I hitting broil? Those B's kind of just stand out, and you might not be able to see the rest of the word. It makes a big difference if you accidentally broil something for 45 minutes versus baking it. So we want you to still be able to do that, but safely and confidently pressing the right button. So we have what's called bump dots. They're little stickers that are raised in a contrast color. We can put them on any of your kitchen appliances. I know there's so many of them out there nowadays. The most common ones would be your stove, your oven, your microwave, dishwasher, coffee pot, instant pot, crock pot, you name it, we can mark it. Okay, that way you can tell, you can feel the setting, and you know, oh, that's right. When I come to the first one on the left, I know that that's my temperature up, or whatever it might be that we mark and go over with you. We can also do that on your laundry appliances as well, washer and dryer. We can mark outlets. Some people have trouble being able to tell where to plug something in, and instead of using your fingers on the outlet, we can show you ways to use bump dots so that you can more safely plug in appliances. Some other things with cooking, you might not be able to tell your depth perception as much anymore. So if you're going to open the oven, you put something in, you know, that very sensitive underside of your arm, that skin is sticking out, and maybe you accidentally hit the top rack because you couldn't tell just how far away it was or where your hand was in comparison. Even cooking on the stove top, reaching over, you know, something hot on the top to be able to get to your settings or to get to another, you know, pot that you might have on a back burner. Using long-armed oven mitts that go up to more of your elbow area instead of just the short ones that might come up to your wrist can be really helpful for people to avoid burning themselves. There's also something called silicone rack guards, and it's simply just a silicone strip that goes across the very front of your oven racks so that if you would hit it, that silicone does not get hot, and it helps to, again, protect you from burning yourself. Maybe you're doing some baking, okay? A little bit different with cooking. Baking, you definitely have to measure out your ingredients instead of, oh, a little dash of this, a pinch of that. With cooking, maybe it's difficult for you to look at your measuring spoons, cups, whatever it might be. Which one is which? Okay, I don't know why they still make them this way, but most of the measuring utensils I've come across, it's all one color. Okay, so you might have red measuring cups, but when it says 1/2 or 1 cup, that's all red as well. There's no contrast, very limited contrast for a lot of these measuring devices. Okay, so we use what's called puff paint. It's a craft paint that is raised. It dries raised. And again, we use that contrast color. Contrast is huge, okay? And we can put that on your measuring devices. That way you know, okay, this is my 1/2. This is my 1 cup. This is my teaspoon, my tablespoon, whatever it is, you name it, we have a way to mark it, okay? And if, you know, we can't think of something right away, we will get creative and we will figure it out for you guys, okay? Stacy and I, the OT team here, we like to be creative. That really makes us think about how best we can help you. It might not be what we do for everybody. You need something different, that's our job, okay? We make it work for what you need, all right? So that puff paint can also be used on lots of different things. I had mentioned that contrast is a big thing. Using something like contrast cutting boards, maybe you're peeling a potato, okay? Having something like a no chop glove, which if you accidentally are cutting something, it's not going to go through your glove to cut your finger. If you're peeling, you're not going to accidentally get your skin. So using that no chop glove on the hand that might be holding what you're peeling or chopping is very helpful. But then also using that contrast cutting board, okay? If you're going to be cutting up a potato or an onion, a white onion, you don't want to be cutting that on a white cutting board. It's going to be very difficult to see where you're actually cutting, how thick, you know, are your sections. So this cutting board has black on one side, white on the other, okay? You can flip it over to the black side, cut up your white onion, have that contrast to make it a lot easier. Same thing with plates at the table. All right, maybe you have a tablecloth on your table, a white tablecloth, okay, and you have a white dinner plate, and then you're having chicken and mashed potatoes on that plate. That's a lot of white going on, okay? So we try and layer with contrast. So if there's a white tablecloth, maybe get a dark plate, which is also going to help with the light food on the plate. So if you're having chicken and mashed potatoes, having a dark red or blue or some kind of bright color will help you to be able to find that food on your plate, as well as then the plate is dark on top of the white tablecloth that will also give you, again, that layer of contrast. When you're sitting at the table and you're going to find your water glass, okay? A lot of people use clear glasses, clear water, not always a good combination, okay? So what we recommend, A, would be to use a contrast color cup. Again, use a cup that has a lid on it. So you could use a water bottle, reusable water bottle, plastic water bottle, something with a lid or a straw. That way, if you should accidentally knock it over, you're not making a mess. The other thing is to go low and slow. All right, so if you're reaching for something, whether it's at your kitchen table, a nightstand, a living room table, low and slow. Okay, so you want to reach your hand across the surface, on the surface of the table, so that you're going for the bottom of whatever you're reaching for. Okay, that's where you're going to have the most, I guess I should say, the least chance of tipping something over, because you're getting it at the base. Okay, slowly find it. Once you feel it, then you can grasp it and pick it up. If you're going for the top, there's a good chance that you're going to knock it over and that thing is already on the floor. Okay, so low and slow is another good thing to think about, whether you're in the kitchen or somewhere else in the home, just trying to find something. All right. Sticking with the kitchen theme here, if you're measuring out liquid, or let's say you like to make a cup of coffee in the morning, but it's difficult to tell how much coffee you're pouring in, and then did you leave enough room for your cream, milk, those kinds of things. There's something called a liquid level indicator. It's just a little device. It can sit on the edge of any cup that you have, and it has these little prongs. And when you're pouring the liquid, once the liquid hits those prongs, it will start to beep and vibrate to say, stop pouring. Some of them also have an extra little prong that is further up than the two that just beeped. So now you can start pouring again with your cream, your coffee creamer, milk, whatever it is that you want, and it's still not going to overflow. It'll give you enough space to be able to have all of that in there and not overflowing, not using your finger on the edge of, hot tea, hot coffee, those kinds of things, to have to feel where that liquid is coming up to, and posing a risk of burning yourself. Especially with people who might have some decreased sensation in their fingers. That is also another issue, because you might be able to feel that there's liquid hitting it, but you might not know just how hot that is, which can lead to other issues. All right. One other good thing in the kitchen would be using different kinds of timers. Okay, I know it can be difficult to see the screen on a microwave or a stove to be able to put in your cook time for something. So if you have a smartphone, using your smartphone to set a timer, using your voice assistant, say, is it Alexa, Siri, Bixby, Google, whoever it is, set a timer for 20 minutes, okay? Then you have that timer that you'll be able to hear. You didn't have to look to make sure that you got the right numbers on there. It makes it a lot easier. They also make talking timers. If you don't have a smart device, you can get a talking timer that you can easily set. You'll be able to hear what the time is and hear it going off, or just a large timer in general. Okay, so those are a lot of the things that we hear from folks in the kitchen. Again, I have the skill to be able to cook. We don't want to tell you that you can't cook. We want to make it easier so that you're feeling confident when you are in the kitchen. Because of your vision loss, you're doing what you need to do and you're doing it safely. All right. Usually the biggest thing that we hear from people when I say, tell me what you're having trouble with, the number one thing, 99% of the time, is reading. And that doesn't just mean sitting down to read a book, because reading is like everything that we do during the day, okay? Whether you're looking at a TV screen, you're looking at a book, you're looking at a box of food to be able to read. What do I put this in the microwave for? What do I set my stove at? You got to look at your mail. Maybe you like to look at the newspaper. You're at the grocery store. You now have to read aisle signs and labels and prices. Driving, if you're still driving, reading road signs, right? Reading and visual. Our world is just so visual. So reading is very difficult for most of our folks because of how much you do it during the day. So if you are someone who is still able to read with magnification, all right, we can do magnification assessments, figuring out, do you need a handheld magnifier? Okay, that's your typical little Glass magnifier, the ones that we have a light on it, because if we can increase the light, we can usually decrease the amount of magnification required. And that goes for at home as well. You want to make sure that you have a good light by your reading chair, over your table, wherever you're reading. That light can make a huge difference in the strain on your eyes, as well as the ease of reading, whatever that material is, with your magnification. One of the frustrating things about magnification for people is as you get to a higher power magnification, you actually have less of an area to look through. Okay, so most people say, I want something nice and big that I can put over top of a piece of paper or their newspaper. It's going to fit everything in there and I can read it. And it sounds wonderful, but it does not exist. There are large ones, they are not strong enough. They're usually like a 1 to 2 power. Okay, by the time you have macular degeneration, that you're really starting to notice that difference in your vision loss, you're at that stage. Those magnification powers are just not strong enough anymore. Okay, so now we start to go less of an area to look through, which is frustrating for some people. Okay, and I'll get to one of the things that we can do in place of that magnification in a minute here. So like I said, we have that typical standard handheld magnifier. Now, part of OT, what we look at, we know that while you have vision loss, you might also have some other physical disabilities or something else health related. Okay, so maybe somebody has hand tremors, they have some weakness or arthritis, things that are keeping you from being able to hold that magnifier and really be able to use it properly. So we have what's called a stand magnifier, and it's still glass, okay, but it has a plastic base to it so that you're not holding the weight of the magnifier. You set it flat on what you're looking at and you just move it side to side. So you're just having that range of motion of moving it instead of holding it at that right reading distance. It's already set for you, okay? So that can be really helpful for some people. Not easy to put in your purse and take with you, or your pocket for the gentleman maybe, but it is really helpful if you have some of those other physical limitations that might keep you from being to read. If it's not vision related, that's the hardest, it might be physical. We look at that as well. On the other end of that, we can do hands-free magnification. There's lots of options for hands-free that you don't have to worry about holding a magnifier, whether it's a stand magnifier or a regular handheld magnifier. There are some reading glasses. Now, when I say that, I'm not talking about prescription glasses. We don't do anything with prescriptions, but there are some of those, if we look at a 4X handheld magnifier, that's not helpful. We can look at a 4-power reading glasses. Okay, that's just taking that magnification, putting it on your head. We can look at some of those powered glasses. Okay, we also have headband magnifiers. Okay, kind of, I've had a lot of people refer to it more of like a jeweler's loop kind of style, where you put it on your head and then you can put it in front of you, and we can change the amount of magnification that is in that glass. And it usually has a light on it so that you can easily add some extra light on top of whatever your environment already is. That's really nice for a lot of our folks who are doing hobbies. Okay, maybe you're doing woodworking, sewing, knitting, or again, you just have that physical limitation that you can't hold something. Those headband magnifiers are nice and light on your head. Nothing sits on your face, so it doesn't feel heavy on your nose or anything like that. It's just a really nice way to have hands-free and be able to, again, adjust that magnification. Usually between like a 1 and 7 power is what we can work with those. Okay, so magnification, there's so many things that we can do with it. That's why we like to have people come into our office. If you've never been here before, we have a nice private space with all of the devices that you would need to look at. Okay, handheld magnifiers, hands-free magnifiers, digital devices, which I'm going to get into in a minute here, glare, all the things. We like to have you come in so that you can try it out, see what works for you. There is no pressure to get anything, but we want you to know what's available. Okay. Now, what I did mention earlier was if typical magnification is not working for you, because as you get larger, higher power, you get smaller area. You might not want to be looking through that small area to be able to read. So we look at what's called digital magnification. And this can be used in a couple different ways. So there's a large device. It's called a desktop video magnifier. Some people refer to it as CCTV or a reading machine. However you like to think of it, we have that, okay? It looks like a computer screen, but it does not act like one, okay? It has a camera sitting underneath of the screen that looks at the tray. You can put your newspaper, mail, pill bottle, food box, whatever it is underneath of it, and it displays it in large print on the screen. And you can change that magnification. You can go up to, some of them go up to like 20 power, okay? So much bigger than most people need, but you can also change the contrast. So think about a food box or something like that they're trying to grab your attention, all right? You've got a blue background with red writing. Horrible, 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 okay? You put it under that device, instantly you can change it to black and white and make it a lot easier to read. Same with the newspaper. A lot of folks like to read the newspaper. That print gets smaller, the quality of the paper gets worse, and the contrast is just not there. Put it under the machine. We can now make the font really large, and we can make it a nice black and white. There's blue and yellow. There's all kinds of contrast for different people's preferences, okay? They also make that in a portable version, okay? So maybe you want to take it with you. You can stick it in your walker bag, a purse, a pocket, you know, take it with you to family, church, whatever it is, they're portable. Okay, so it's the same thing, but it's just going to be a smaller screen. You can carry it along. You can hold it up to be able to read the price tag at the store, read the label, read the hymns at church. You know, look at your mail envelope and see, is this junk? Do I need to actually try and read through this? Is this for somebody else? Those kinds of things. Okay, so maybe you like to sit in a comfy chair to read instead of wanting to sit at a desk where the desktop magnifier would go. The portable magnifier makes it really nice to be able to put your feet up in your comfy chair or at the sofa, have a lap desk to be able to support what you're reading on that nice solid surface, and be able to then use your devices to be able to read. So lots of things there. Also, if you have a smartphone or a tablet, you can also open either the magnifier app or just the camera in general, and you have the whole size of your screen to be able to zoom in and zoom out, or take a picture if you don't want to hold your hand steady, and then zoom in on the picture to see, oh, here's the price of that, or here's the ingredients, you know, the nutritional facts list. If there's something, you know, I got to cut down on my salt, how many milligrams of sodium is in here, okay? You can also use your phone. So there's lots of those little tips and tricks of things that you might not even have known were already in your pocket, okay? There's a really nice service through the Library of Congress. It is a free service for people with vision loss, you know, cognitive or memory problems, physical disability, things like that that limit them from being able to read physical books, okay? So that's something that we can help you get signed up for if you're interested and you qualify. You can get audiobooks. So they'll send you a book player, a physical book player, and then books on tape. They're not your typical cassette. It has a USB on it. So everything comes right from them. You don't have to go out and find your own things, but you can pick specific titles, authors, genres. You can request things at any point, okay? We just fill out a starter application of, here's some things that I might want to listen to, and they just send them to you, and you listen at your leisure. There's no due date or anything like that. We can show you how to use the player. It's very simple, and it's a nice way to stay involved with books without fatiguing your eyes, trying to read it with a magnifier or squinting, trying to read large print, those kinds of things. The library does have large print books if you're still at that stage where you can read large print books, and maybe your local library, you've read through that, or you're not, you know, interested or able to get there. The Library of Congress can send you those books, large print books, in the mail as well, and everything just goes right back in the mail. Very simple. They also have what's called Bard Mobile. So it's taking that audiobook service, putting it in an application on a phone, a tablet, or a computer, where you can just go on to their website and download books directly onto your device. So you have it if you're out traveling, you're going for a walk, you prefer to use a small smart device instead of using this book player, which is also portable, but a little bit larger. Okay, so they have lots of ways to adapt for everybody's preference if you're interested in audiobooks or large print books. newspaper, because I know that's still very important for a lot of people. If you can't sit down and read it, digital magnification is still too fatiguing. There is a service through Newsline, which you can call in, and we can teach you how to call in, what different preferences you want. You can pick the newspaper that you want, and it's national. So if you want to, listen to the New York Times or somewhere in California, you can pick that. You can pick the section that you want. So if you want to just skip ahead to the sports section, you can do that. You don't have to listen cover to cover. It's very nice way for you to still be involved in the news, but not have to read everything on your own. So reading, there's a whole lot that goes into that. That's the basics. Come talk to us and we can really dive into what you specifically need. All right. Another area that tends to be difficult for folks is managing medication. And again, this is not me saying that you cannot do your medications. This is me saying those pills are small. It can be hard to see the colors. It can be hard to read the labels. If you have 3 different prescriptions and they all come in a little orange bottle, which one's which? If those pills drop on the floor, how do you find it? Maybe you have an animal or young kids that are around. We don't want them to find it and make themselves sick. We don't want you to drop a pill. Oh, it happens every once in a while. But 2-3 times throughout the month, at the end of the month, you might be short a couple pills, and it's an important medication that we don't want you to be missing. Okay, so these are some simple ways to make it easier to be 100% confident that you have the right pill at the right time. Okay. So if you're a person who likes to take the pills out of the bottle every day, I have a lot of people who say, I keep it in order, I have all of this. And I like to be a little mean and say, if I came in and I, reorganized them for you and said, can you find me medication X? Would you be able to do that? Well, yeah, I can tell because, that pill is, a yellow oval. Okay, well, again, that might work for you, but I just like to be thinking about worst case scenario here with medications. Maybe the pharmacy changes that, the provider for the medications that month, and that pill now comes in and it's a round white pill, which is the same as one of your other pills. So it's those little things that I just like people to think about. What would you do in that case? Okay. So some things that we do to help you, we can mark the lid of your medication bottle. Okay. Maybe you take a medication that starts with an L. Okay. We put a nice big L on the lid of your bottle so that you know that's that medication. An M for the next one, whatever it is, we can mark the lids. That way you're 100% sure that's the right medication. If you're somebody who likes to fill out a Medi-Set, that's your, Sunday through Saturday weekly Medi-Set. If you're filling that out on your own, again, knowing that you got everything out of each bottle, once you get to that day, okay, so today's Tuesday, when you open up Tuesday, are you dumping it into your hand? Some of those little pills, they like to get stuck in the webs of our fingers, okay, and we don't know it. I've been guilty of this as well, so I'm preaching to myself too. They get stuck in the webs of our fingers. We don't know it. We think we got everything. And again, it's either on the floor, in the sink, you missed that medication and you didn't even know it. Okay. Some of those little pills, they also like to get stuck in the corners of those, weekly days that you open up. And that if it's a white pill case with a white pill in it, it can be difficult to see that. Okay. So just making sure that you use a finger. Did you get everything out? Instead of putting pills in your hands, try and avoid using your hands at all cost because there's so many things that can happen with it. I recommend pouring it into like those little Dixie cups that you might use to use mouthwash or rinse your mouth out after brushing your teeth, whatever it might be, a little Dixie cup or a bowl, something that you can dump the pills into that and take them from there. Just tip it back to your mouth and take them from there. Helps to avoid dropping pills or a pill kind of rolling away and maybe it blends in with your countertop or something like that. The other thing with it would be to put like a towel down, a rag or a tea towel, maybe not a paper towel because that's still pretty thin that a pill can roll on it, but maybe like a red towel that you can put down with the bowl on top of it. So when you dump your pills into it, if something does happen to trickle away, it's kind of deadens it on the towel. Okay. There is a company called Accessible Pharmacy, which is really helpful for a lot of people. It was created by a gentleman who has vision impairment because he knows obviously taking your medications is important, but it can also be really difficult with vision loss. So it is a service that you use their pharmacy in place of whoever you're currently going through. Your copay is just like you would do at the normal pharmacy, but they can, fill out that weekly Medi-Set for you and send it directly to your home. You don't have to find someone to take you to the pharmacy. You don't have to try and do it on your own if you're not comfortable with it anymore. Maybe you have a spouse or somebody who you're also doing their medications on top of yours. Their meds can go through there as well. You don't just have to be vision impaired, but it is a really nice service that a lot of people use. It's called Accessible Pharmacy. Okay. You can call them up, do like a little consultation. They take care of contacting your doctors, figuring out all your meds, and then you just get them in the mail every month. So that's another nice way to do medications. So again, these are just some of the common tips, but we can make it more specific to what you personally need if you want to talk to us about that. So I know technology can be an area that some people love and some people want to stay away from, and some people are kind of, well, I didn't know it could do that, so now you might be open to it, okay? So depending on where you are on that scale, I'm going to go through some of the higher tech and some of the lower tech areas of what we can help with. Okay, and this is the OT side. We also have access technology that if you want to learn things, like using screen readers like JAWS, voiceover, talkback, those kinds of higher level things with your computer or phone. We do have Benjamin, who's our access technology specialist. That's something that we can talk about. What is the best way for you to get that training? If you're going to be working with occupational therapy, we do a lot with smartphones. Okay, there's so many things that those smartphones can do. If you've already paid for the device, you carry it around with you. There's a lot of people just didn't really understand what all they can do with the phone. Okay, now we can work with Android and iPhone. I will say iPhone tends to have more accessibility features available for vision loss. Okay, if you have Android, there are still accessibility features, but because there's so many different phones in the Android umbrella, it really depends on which phone you have, how much accessibility we can work with. Okay. So when I talk about this, I'm going to start with Apple products, but also add in there what Android can do as well, okay? And what we can do on the iPhone, we can do on an iPad as well. So those tablets do work the same, okay? One of the easiest things, people say, well, I can still see my screen. It's a little hard. Okay, we can bump up your font. We can increase the contrast. Those simple accessibility features, easy. It can make it a lot easier. You can see the screen what you need to. But a lot of people, they might say, well, the morning my eyes are better. Some people, their eyes are better in the evening. So what do you do in the times where your eyes are really tired? You've had to use them for a lot. You want to get this communication out to somebody. You really need to find a phone number or read this text message, but your eyes are just tired. You can't do it. It's just that day, that time of day, whatever it might be. Using the voice assistant on your phone is huge. Okay, so again, iPhone and Android, they both have voice assistants, either like your Google or Bixby for Android. iPhone is going to be Siri. Okay, those are going to be some of your new best friends. Okay, let's say you want to make a phone call to a friend or a family member. Okay, instead of having to go through your contacts list and figure out, okay, I want to call Linda. What is her name under? Okay, all I have to do, and hopefully my phone doesn't listen while we're doing this, is say, hey Siri, call Linda. Okay, she'll do that. Whatever that person is listed in your contacts, you say that name and your phone will do it. Okay, maybe you're in a text conversation with somebody and you just are struggling to see the buttons to be able to type out your message. It takes too long. Can't find the microphone for the voice text. You don't even have to go into your text app and scroll through to find the conversation that you're looking for. You say, Siri, text Linda. Siri will come on and say, what would you like to say? You tell her your message. She'll read it back to you and say, would you like to send it? And you say yes or change it. Okay. I didn't even have to look at my phone for any of that, okay? It's all done with my voice. My phone could be across the room. As long as that phone can hear you, you don't even have to look at it, okay? So again, saving your eyes for when you can't, for when you don't need to use them, save that eye power for when you do need it, that you just don't have these other options. Somebody sends you a text message back, you say, "Hey Siri, read me my new message." And it starts all over again. Siri will read you that message. Would you like to reply? You tell her what you want to say, and you just keep going, okay? You can ask the weather. You can tell her to open up an app. If you don't remember where on my screen is this app, what does the picture look like, those kinds of things. There's just so many features that that voice assistant can do for you, okay? There's some really good apps on the phone. These two apps that I'm going to go over to start with, they are accessible on both Android and Apple. Some of the Android, it's newer to Android, so some of the older Android phones might not be compatible with it. So we just kind of check each one individually, but most of them, I would say, we've been able to download it on there, okay? So one of the first apps is called Seeing AI, which is for artificial intelligence. Seeing, SEEING AI. Okay. And this is a great free app. Okay. It's going to have what I like to call channels. Okay. Different options to use within the whole device or the app. So you can take a picture of a document and it will read it out loud to you. You can scan a barcode. It will tell you what that item is. You can identify color, identify different denominations of money. You can identify, like, if there's people around you, it will like take a picture and describe a scene to you if you're not sure like where you are, if you can't really tell, where's the seating, am I going to run into something? It can read handwriting, and I say read handwriting loosely because it's as best it can depending on how well somebody's handwriting looks. Those are a lot of the main ones that are on there. So there's so many features that you can use that app for. The biggest one is that, scanning a document and being able to read it. You get a letter in the mail. Again, you don't want to have to use your magnifier to read it. Let the phone read it out loud for you. Okay. I could do a whole nother session based on technology, so I won't go too far into it. But there's ways to have your email read to you on the phone. So many great accessibility features built in. And also, like I had mentioned, with the digital magnification, if you have a smart device, you can already use that as a portable video magnifier since you have the device if you don't want to have to buy a new one. If you're using a smartphone or a tablet, we can show you how to use it as a video magnifier as well. Let's see. There's lots of, some people who don't want to use a smartphone, and that's okay. Even if you're just doing phone calls and texts and you're like, you know what, that's all I want to do. I don't want to have all the other features. Flip phones are still wonderful, okay? Because it's basic, okay? All you need to see are the numbers on the keypad, okay? And that'll get you through what you need to. The screen itself is not always accessible to be able to, see the name of your contacts, but setting up speed dial is big on flip phones, okay? If there's, usually you can do 9 speed dials, 8 or 9. If there's people that you frequently call, we set up speed dial, which is simply inputting a number, and number 1 goes to your daughter. You press and hold number 1, it's going to call her right away. You press number 2, that's going to go to your eye doctor. Number 3 goes to your neighbor, whatever it is. You're only having to press one number instead of trying to correctly dial 10 digits. Okay, so speed dial is huge. The other thing would be marking the number 5 on a flip phone, even a landline phone. We can do the same thing with a landline, okay, is marking different buttons, setting up speed dial. We can put it's smaller than a bump dot because bump dots tend to fall off on phone buttons, okay, it's called a locator dot. Same thing, you're going to be able to feel that it's raised on the number 5. And you might have already noticed that most phones, whether it's a cell phone or a landline phone, they already come with a little bit of a bump on the number 5, but we just kind of make that a little bit more pronounced. And then we do what's called dial from 5. Okay, 5 is in the middle of all of those numbers. And then you just learn that every number is just one spot away from the 5. Okay, so up and to the left would be your 1, straight up would be 2, up and to the right would be 3, and then you just continue on. So having that reference point to make sure that you're on the correct line to start with can help you to be able to dial all 10 digits exactly the way that you need to the first time. And my big thing would be, should there ever be an emergency, whether there's somebody else who lives in the house, you say, oh, they do the phone calls, whatever it might be. Should something happen to you or the person in your home, are you able to dial 911 if need be? Because think about, you're already dealing with a vision loss, but if there's some kind of emergency that goes on, our brains are in fight or flight, right? So we're not thinking straightly. You might look at a phone and things are dancing around. I want to make sure that you can see 911. If that's the least that you do with a phone, somebody else does all the other calls for you. As long as you can see 911, that's the big thing. Okay, so if you're struggling with that, there's large button phones as far as a landline phone, large button phones, phones that have the buttons actually talk to you so that you have that auditory feedback. If you're dialing 717 and you hear 747, whoops, before you get to the rest of the digits, you can hang up and start over before you do all 10 and hear, the operator come on and tell you that's not an actual number, okay? So again, different flip phones, different medium between a flip phone and a smartphone. There's lots of different options depending on what features you're looking for. Let us know. We can talk you through smartphones, flip phones, home phones. We can cover all of that, okay? Some things with your daily life, whether it's indoors or outdoors, lighting can be huge for some people, and it can be huge in a good way or huge in a bad way for your vision, okay? Like I mentioned earlier, having more light can decrease the amount of magnification needed. However, having that extra light can also cause a lot of glare, and some people are very glare sensitive, okay? So if you're outside, we definitely recommend wearing sunglasses, okay? Dark sunglasses, whether you're sitting in a car, just sitting outside, going for a walk, whatever it is, okay? Even if you're not super glare sensitive outside, you still want the protection of the glare shields, the outdoor sunglasses, to protect your eyes from the sun rays, okay? Because your eyes are already going through a lot with, your macular degeneration. You don't want any further damage to be caused by the sun rays, okay? So outdoor glasses are very important. Some people have transition lenses. As long as you feel that that's dark enough for you, that's totally fine. If you don't, we use fit over glasses, okay? So they can go over your prescription lenses if you need to have those on to be able to see everything else that's happening. These go over top of your prescriptions. You can either do a little clip-on or the ones that we wanted to go to your brow line, and we wanted to also have the side coverage as well so that glare doesn't come in any of those other areas, which can still be an issue for people, okay? And there's a whole range of colors for people depending on what you need. Some people need really, really dark. Other people might need a little bit lighter for outside, but still dark enough to, again, protect their eyes from that light. So come see us. We'll talk about what specifically you need. You can try the glasses on different styles and colors and things like that. Inside is also very sensitive for a lot of people. Whether you get a lot of natural light coming in your windows, that natural light is so beneficial, but it can also be blinding. And I say that literally because some people, once that sun comes in, everything's whited out and it's not doing anything for you, okay? Maybe you don't want to sit with the curtains or the blinds pulled all day because that's no fun, right? You want to be able to get that light. You want to feel good, be able to see what's going on outside. We can look at indoor glare shields. Okay, these can be used in your home. A lot of people complain about overhead lighting at grocery stores, department stores, doctors' offices, restaurants, the lack of lighting in restaurants, those kinds of things. Indoor glare shields are really helpful for that. And for some people, you might not even have realized that you have this sensitivity. And once you put these glasses on, you think, whoa, the contrast can be increased. It can get rid of some of that haziness for you. It's not going to change your vision, but it can help with some of that clarity, very slightly the clarity. But once that glare is gone, your eyes might not get fatigued as quickly. Again, that contrast with whatever you're looking at might be bolder for you. So the glare is really important, okay, to be able to live a daily life with your eyes feeling a little bit better. There's a couple colors that I like to think when people put it on, I can just see in their face. It's like their eyes are taking a sigh of relief, like, wow, the tension is just gone because they're not having to filter, their brain is not filtering out all that light while trying to focus on what they're looking for. You don't realize how much mental energy it can take for your eyes to adjust to vision loss. Whether it's your one eye is really good, one eye is not so good, and they just don't communicate well. Your brain might be trying to get rid of some of that light to help you focus on what you're doing. Just focusing in general, it can be very, mentally draining, which can lead to physically draining and all those things. So we want to cut out as much of that extra stuff as possible so that you can continue doing those daily tasks and not feel like you have to sit at home while somebody else goes to the grocery store. That could be your one way to get out of the house for the day or that week. And if it's uncomfortable, this is a way to help you with that. Okay. Making sure that you have lots of light in the home is good. Those stand lights, there's task lamps. You want as much light as possible right over top of what you're doing. I know a lot of people, they might live in an older home or community where there's no overhead lighting. So you're forced to just use lamps everywhere. Well, we can come out and do a lighting assessment and figure out, where do you need extra lighting? Can we take a lampshade off? Lampshades, they're not that great, okay? They're going to decrease the amount of light that is put out. If it's a different color shade, that can also change the color of the light that comes out. So we don't want a lot of lampshades. We want a nice natural daylight bulb, okay? A nice white natural daylight. And you want to make sure it's at the right spot. Okay, you want to make sure where it is actually going to be providing you light, not just kind of a overall glow in the room kind of thing. So we can do different lighting assessments and figure out what you need. A lot of people keep flashlights all over their home, whether it's to, see what the microwave is. If we don't have bump dots on there, see what the settings are there. Keep one by their closet so they can go in and see the colors a little bit better of the clothes that they're looking for. You name it. People keep flashlights everywhere, which is, it's good to have around if that's the way that works for you. Okay. Some other things would be labeling and organization. I know this can be tough if you are living with somebody else who doesn't necessarily understand what you're going through and why it's important, and you might be very specific about, I put this here, I want it to stay here, and the reason being because you can remember where you put things, and if it's not there, it can be very difficult for you to find, right? So whether it be in the refrigerator, okay, a lot of people are guilty of, I take something out, I put it back in where there's space, it might not be the space it came from, but then you as the, vision impaired individual go in and, okay, the orange juice used to be right here on the right, and now it's back behind 3 other bottles of something and you can't quite find it, okay? Or in the pantry, the cabinets in the kitchen or the bathroom, or, you put your sunglasses and wallet down on the table, it's blending in, or somebody hung your keys up, instead of leaving them where you had it. Just explaining to people there's a reason it might be an organized mess. Some people might not want everything out, but for those with vision impairment, a lot of times they like to have it there because they can easily find what they're looking for because it is where it was. Something that can be really nice is called a pen friend. And what this is, it's a device that looks like a pen, okay? It's a little bit thicker than a pen, but it looks like a pen. And it has labels, and it's a voice labeling system. You can label clothing in the closet. So you could put a tag in the back of your shirt that says, blue shirt with pink flowers. You can label spices in the kitchen. You can label, a can of soup and say, this is how I make it. This is the expiration date. You can label files. Like if you have files in a drawer and it can be difficult to read what you have it labeled as, you can label it and say, home insurance file from 2020 to 2024, whatever it is. I've told people A lot of people, they want to record their memories. They just can't write these things down anymore. They might not be able to type it out on a computer. What you can do is you can take one of those labels. I think you can record for maybe up to like 2 hours per label, okay? You tell whatever story you want, you stick it down, and then you take that pen, and the next time you hold it up to that label, it will tell you back exactly what you said in your own voice. Okay, so it records that specific label to whatever you put it to. Next time you hold the pen up to it, it tells you. And you can reuse these labels and just constantly be re-recording if you need to. So there's lots of ways that we can use those labels for different things around the home. But the Pen Friend is a really nice device. It's around like $130, $150, something like that, but can be used for a lot of different areas in the home. Marking clothes with safety pins if it's tagless clothes. I know that's comfortable. That's what a lot of things are, but it can be hard to tell. Is this inside out? Is this backwards? And you don't want to be going out into the community looking, unkempt, and that can be embarrassing. So figuring out a way to mark your clothes and figure out right side out and forward without having to find somebody to ask, all right? You feel like you can just get dressed in the morning and not worry about it and be done, okay? A couple other little random things here would be, folding your money in certain ways. If you don't have a money identifier, which that is something else that you can get through the Library of Congress, a little I-bill reader, you stick the money in, it will tell you what denomination it is. Maybe you don't want to carry that around, but you can fold your money in different ways, okay? So maybe you fold your $1 bills like a hot dog. Your 5s get folded like a hamburger. Your 10s, you fold one of the corners down, and your 20s, they just stay open, okay? So that when you're going for your money, you can feel what you're looking for, not fumbling through, worrying about, oh, they said it was $10. I actually gave them a 20, but they didn't give me any change, that kind of thing. You realize what you're actually using, okay? Linda, how am I doing on time here? Do you want me to, I have plenty I can talk about, so you just tell me when you want me to slow down.
Go ahead and talk. How about till 11? How's that sound?
Okay, yep, all right, sounds good. All right, so something that you may or may not have noticed, because a lot of times your brain is adapting without you even realizing it. I'll be talking to people and they say, oh yeah, I do this. I think that's exactly what we would have recommended for you to do. And your brain is just already adapting, okay? So give yourselves credit, because you're forced to do these things to figure out how you can continue on in your daily routines without even knowing it. You're just getting by. We want to make it easier, but I learn a lot from my clients, because you guys are the ones living it. I am a sighted individual, so I can give you these tips, but it's also really good to hear it from people who are doing it and have figured it out. So I appreciate when my clients tell me, oh, this is what I do. That's a great idea. Then I can pass it on to other people, okay? So something that you probably do without realizing it is using what we call eccentric viewing. Okay, so maybe you're sitting and watching TV, and I say watching loosely because a lot of people just listen at some point. The TV, we can't really magnify it. You can sit closer, use audio description if you want to, but using eccentric viewing is figuring out where are those holes and blind spots in your vision, and where in your periphery can you look out of to see those details a little bit better, okay? So it might be that there's somebody, sitting off to my right, and instead of looking at them directly on, you might keep your head to the left of them a little bit and look out the corner of your eye to see them, okay? So you can still see them, but you're not looking directly at them, which can throw some people off. Again, hey, I'm over here. Why aren't you talking to me? Some of these things are just figuring out how to explain it to people. Actually, I can see you better this way, okay? Or maybe, we can help you find it, but you've probably already figured out where is the best spot in your vision to look that's looking around that blind spot. Okay, that can be used to read, that can be used to, look at those little details, seeing somebody's face. Usually very difficult for people. If you're in a big crowd at church, I hear a lot, so-and-so said, hi, Linda, how are you? And I didn't know who it was until later. They might have thought I was being rude. I tell people, just let them know, hey, I can't see you. So if you see me, can you please come over and you address me first. Don't expect me to come find you, because I just can't do it in this crowd of people. I don't recognize voices as quickly because there's a lot going on here. The neighbor across the street yells out, "Hey, Taylor, how are you?" I'm good. And maybe it was a neighbor that you actually wanted to talk to or something like that, but till you figured out who it was, they're already gone. Okay. Having that little elevator speech of, walking down the aisle at the grocery store. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to run into you. I just can't see you." Okay. Not being afraid to tell people that you have this vision loss, even though it can be difficult for them to understand, telling them what it's like and what you need from them is important. Making sure that they understand the level of help that you need. One of the blindness etiquette things that we talk about with people who are sighted working with somebody who's vision impaired is don't just assume that somebody needs your help because there's some vision loss there. There is a wide range of vision loss. You can have some loss to total loss, okay? And in between there, that person will tell you exactly what they need, okay? So, we don't want people coming up and grabbing you. "Here, I'll take you through the food line. Let me get your food. Let me do all of this." And you're like, "Actually, I can see that. I might not be able to read the label, but I can look at this and figure, well, this is a thing of corn." Okay. So, letting people know what you can and can't do in a nice way. That can be frustrating sometimes. Um, but there are ways that you can educate family, friends, people that you're around a lot. We're happy to help kind of facilitate some of those conversations with you. And again, as you come out on the other side of accepting this vision loss, people become more comfortable having those conversations and saying, "Hey, this is just how I have to do it. I appreciate your help. This is what you can do for me." Or actually, I'm doing great right now, but I'll let you know when I need your help. Okay. So I know I went through a lot of information. There's probably still so much more that I could go through. But those are the individual things that we talk about when you come into VisionCorps. We help you, okay? We really dive into what you specifically are having trouble with and what's going to work specifically for you that might not be what the next person needs, okay? So we really make it personal because while your vision loss might not be as bad as somebody else's, you might need something different than they do, and we don't compare that. Your story is yours, and it's just as important as the next person. So we want to make sure you get what you need, and we're happy to help in whatever way.
Right. Thank you so much, Taylor, for your presentation today. And before I turn it over to some questions and answers, again, I just want to thank everyone for listening to our presentation. And we are excited to be working on our next speaker series for this macular degeneration group. We are going to be having Dr. Gawali come back and present to us again in September. So if you were able to enjoy her presentation last time, she's a great speaker. She's a retinal specialist, and we look forward to having her again in September. So you can look forward to information on that coming to you via the mail or email, and we look forward to having you back for that presentation. So again, I hope you learned a lot about how the occupational therapy staff here can help you with your daily living challenges from macular degeneration. But again, that's just one piece of the puzzle. We have a lot of specialists here in our rehab department, including access technology, orientation and mobility, social work case management, and many other types of opportunities for you to interact with those who have vision loss and blindness from things like macular degeneration in terms of in-person and over-the-phone groups. So if you're not yet connected with us at VisionCorps, we would love to hear from you. Or if you are one of our clients and you want to reconnect with us again, please do reach out to us. We are looking forward to helping you get connected to the services at VisionCorps and even services outside of VisionCorps, again, to help you regain that lost independence and quality of life.
This is the end of our webinar recording. Thank you for joining. For more information about VisionCorps services, please call 717-291-5951 or email us at info@visioncorps.net. That's info@visioncorps.net.